Peace, healing, and light, family. Welcome back to another episode of Healing with Angelica's podcast, where we discuss all things healing. And if you are new to the show, again, welcome, beautiful souls. On today's episode, we have a beautiful soul, beautiful, amazing, intelligent guest joining us today, Dr. Christina Parks, as we'll be discussing today's topic, healing on a cellular level. Dr. Parks, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today. It is a pleasure to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm excellent, and it's an honor to be here. Peace.
Yes, thank you so much. And for those who don't know who Miss Parks is, I will give you guys a brief bio. Dr. Christina Parks earned her Ph.D. in cellular and molecular biology from the University of Michigan. She is a well-known national speaker on issues of medical freedom who has stood up to expose the truth regarding medical interventions that have been pushed on the Black communities in the U.S. and worldwide. Her passion is to use her deep scientific knowledge to identify the root cause that throw our bodies out of balance. And therefore lead to dysfunction and disease. She brings a wealth of knowledge, helping others to understand what factors must be addressed to protect and recover their health, with a special emphasis on issues affecting melanated people. So beautiful, so beautiful. Now let's get started on today's episode, Healing on a Cellular Level. And please, for my audience today, my sister is very busy. If you guys have any question, please put it in the comment section below. So I am so excited to have Dr. Christina Parks with us today. She is a PhD in cellular and molecular biology and an advocate for medical freedom. Dr. Parks will share her expertise on how we can heal at a cellular level and restore balance with a focus on issues impacting melanated communities. Let's dive in, you guys. All right. And my first question for you to bring in this whole topic, understanding cellular health, can you explain what it means to heal on a cellular level and why it's so critical for our overall health?
Sure. I mean, I spent 12 years studying that, 30 really, but I'll try to encapsulate it in 30 seconds. No problem. Well, if you think about it, all of the business of living is actually done by your cells. To use an example, like we all know that if you don't breathe anymore, you die, right? And so we think of breathing or our lungs as being really critical. But like, why? Why is breathing important? Like most of us don't even get past that. We know that like if we don't breathe, we die, but like, why is it even important? And the reason it's important is because your cells need oxygen to make energy. They actually take sugar, glucose, or fats, and they actually use oxygen to make cellular energy, which is ATP. Now, to take that one step further, there's a particular part of the cell called the mitochondria that does that. It's called oxidative respiration. Using oxygen, you think of respire, breathe, right, to make energy. So if that part of the cell, the mitochondria, is not working properly, your cells can't make energy. Now, if you think of the cells that are really important in the body, like your heart cells or your brain cells, they have a ton of mitochondria to make energy, and they need that oxygen. So, but even if you're getting enough oxygen, what if that mitochondria, that part of the cell, were damaged? And we know now that mitochondrial dysfunction or damage, which actually occurs as you age as well, right? But is actually predisposing factors for almost all chronic illness, because your body can't function well if it's not making enough energy. And in this case, it's not necessarily not getting enough oxygen. It's a dysfunction of the organelle altogether. And there's many things that can cause that. And so in studying the root cause of disease, like things like autism, things like autoimmunity, and especially cancer. So I was just listening to a podcast that was talking about how what all cancer cells have in common is their inability to use their mitochondria to take in oxygen and make energy. And so they go to another dysfunctional pathway that requires sugar. So All cancer requires sugar, whereas your mitochondria can burn fat, right? When you're not eating, like say when you're eating one meal a day or you're doing a 3-day fast, your cancer cells are obligatory on sugar because their mitochondria aren't working properly, which shows that actually cancer may be a disease of metabolic dysfunction, right? I know that's a lot. So people are going to have to go back and like go step by step by step by step. But the point being is all of that takes place at a cellular level. And so many other things take place at a cellular level because, and each different part of our body is different. So your pancreas makes insulin. Those cells have to be right. So let me use another example that is really, really important. One of the things that I've been studying is that beauty products, nails, eyelash glue, even our body washes, a lot of them have fragrances in them, and it's all super, super toxic. So as a chemist, I kind of knew it kind of was, but then I was like, well, let me validate it. Let me not just say something, right? And I found out there are things like phthalates and all of these chemicals that are called endocrine disruptors because they're similar to our sex hormones. Your hormones, what they do, and things like growth hormone is a hormone, vitamin D is a hormone. What they do, hormones actually bind to your DNA and turn off and on genes. So one way to think of this is estrogen binds to your DNA and turns on sex-related genes, right? Those for females. Testosterone binds to it and turns on sex-related genes that would make you a male. However, both females and males both have estrogen and testosterone, right? So what makes you a female and him a male? Like, are you going to respond to testosterone the same way a male does? No, actually not, because when you are in utero, your genes are formatted to respond to hormones in the way of a woman. Okay, these endocrine disruptors go in and bind the DNA in these random skewed fashion, and then your body cannot respond to its regular hormones in the proper fashion. So this is what this looks like. Let's say you're married, you're pregnant with a baby girl. Let's say you have a lot of these endocrine disrupting chemicals. What's going to happen is first, you're going to be more predisposed to endometriosis and fibroids, but so is the baby in your womb, because those chemicals are going to cross the placenta and bind to her DNA and reformat it in a way that she's not able to respond to her body's regular hormones properly. And you're probably not going to see this until she's a young woman. But it happened when you were gestating her in utero. Likewise, for a male, if you're gestating a boy child, these endocrine disruptors are going to go through the placenta and bind to his DNA, reformat it, so that his sexual development doesn't occur. Maybe his testicles don't drop down. Maybe parts of his anatomy don't form properly. But it also changes the way every cell in his body responds to his own hormone. And it feminizes him because most of these are more similar to estrogen than testosterone, so that he responds to male hormones more like a girl. Right? So this is the importance. And so one of the things that we have to look at is how do we get those toxins, those endocrine disruptors off of the DNA? How do we reformat the DNA? So one of the big questions is, when we have all these chemicals binding to our DNA and dysregulating it, how can we change that? So one of the biggest ways that your body is able to reformat the DNA back to its default state. Have you ever had your computer mess up and you're just like, let me go back to default? Can we go back to the default settings? Yes. Right? So your body has that too. And it's sort of beyond our pay grade to know exactly how it does that. But we know that one of the things that does that is fasting. Okay, so fasting can actually walk this back. It can detox. Sometimes you do need extra help. And that's what I do, like with my Vita website, to detox your body. But fasting also helps the DNA to reformat back to its original state.
It hasn't even been a whole 30 minutes yet, and you already dropping jewels. I love it. I just took so many notes in that little bit of time.
I know people are going to have to go. That's why it's like, I was a teacher, and I would every day you go back and that's the thing about like these podcasts. When you're teaching, every day you go back and review what you talked about before, and then the next day you review it a little bit more. Like there's no way to everybody be like, yeah, it was great. What was it on? Yeah, let me.
Gotta go back.
You better
Uh-huh.
go watch it.
Yes, yes, I love it. I know I'm gonna have to go back because you just said so much, and I love how um, you spoke about just the endocrine disruptors that we have going on with just the products that we're using, the stuff we put on our nails, our eyelashes, and not even knowing, like when we do, when woman wants to bear a child, how that affects the child. I didn't even know that. So I'm glad that you brought that up. You talked about the mitochondria.
Mitochondria.
The
Mhm.
mitochondria. I hope I'm saying it right. You talked about that, and could you break down, in my mind, mitochondria is the gut, right? That's the gut.
Mm-mm, no, no, no.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
okay,
So you're probably thinking of the microbiome,
okay.
which is like the bacteria that you have in your gut that help you to make different, vitamins and to digest your food. But the
Mm.
mitochondria is actually inside every single cell, and it makes energy. And so the cells that make the most energy, such as your heart cells and your muscle cells, are going to have the most mitochondria. So it's actually, it looks like kind of like a little bacteria inside the cell, and it actually has its own DNA as well. But it also plays a critical role as whenever. So, am I to understand correctly that you're a member of the Nation of Islam?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, right. Just want to make sure we're all
Yeah,
clear.
no.
And and so you'll be doing Eat to Live, and you'll be doing one meal a day. So this is something that is really central to understanding one meal a day and intermittent fasting in general. And that is that your mitochondria, when they make energy, they make something called free radicals. And they're like free electrons. So nobody really wants to stick their finger in an electric socket because those free electrons will like cook you,
Mm,
right? In a similar way, whenever you make energy, you make free electrons and they actually do damage to your cells and all of your tissues. So think about it like a power plant. You can't make electricity if you're putting in coal without making some pollution, right? It's the same with your mitochondria. In fact, the amount of free radicals that your mitochondria make should actually kill you.
mm,
Fortunately, God designed our bodies with ways to mop those up and so that it doesn't kill you. If you don't do that, it creates a lot of inflammation and disease. So if the body's not doing that properly, then you're going to be very, very inflamed, and that can be a problem. However, with regard to Eat to Live, what happens is, let's go back to the power plant analogy. What's going to happen if you keep shoveling coal into that power plant and the fire just gets hotter and hotter and hotter? You're making a lot of energy, right? But you're also going to make way more pollution, right? And the fire is going to get really, really hot, and you're going to have a lot of inflammation, to relate it to your body. That's what eating multiple times a day does.
mm.
Now, many people will eat multiple times a day because it actually will. I don't know why this is flashing. It's not in my. Can you see me flashing? It's not in
No,
my.
I see it. I'm like, she's
Yeah, it's.
changing
I don't know. Maybe
colors.
it's divine, but like it's not in my house. It's on the screen, and I'm not sure why
Oh
it's happening.
wow. Okay, okay. You're fine. I'm
But I
like,
keep
she's
turning green and then back. But
yeah.
like it's okay. It's fine.
Okay.
It's making
I
me
was like,
feel
you're
special.
changing
I don't know
colors.
if it's my
Cool.
camera or what it is. It doesn't usually do
It's
this. But
probably
anyway, to
the
get back to the mitochondria. So the more food you have, if you're eating multiple times a day, your fire gets really hot. And because your fire gets really hot, you can actually burn more calories and get skinnier. They'll say your metabolism speeds up, right? However, it's not really good for you because you're making more free radicals. So you may look skinny, but you're making all of these free radicals that are actually damaging your tissues and causing inflammation. Okay. Now, conversely, let's say you start putting less coal in. Now, there is a worry that you won't get enough and you won't produce enough electricity, but actually, in your body, what happens is my divine essence is flashing through. That's what I like to see. That's what I like to see.
yes.
What actually happens in our bodies is it just slows the process of creating energy down and it becomes more efficient. So it tries to become way more efficient. A lot of the times, what it will do is switch from burning sugar to burning fat, and it will burn it more efficiently and it will create less free radicals.
Mm,
When you create less free radicals, you do less damage to your body.
mm,
However, it slows your metabolism down.
mm.
So you don't burn calories as quickly. And if, let's say, you start cheating or eating too much, you can actually gain weight. Okay. Have you ever heard if you're on a diet and then you start eating again, you're going to gain back the weight because it slows down your metabolism. So, and people will be like, well, why do I want to slow metabolism? That sucks. Like if I cheat or everyone's going to know I'm going to gain weight, right? All right. However, when you are using less fuel, less food during the day, what happens is that you are not creating as many free radicals. You are not damaging your body. You are allowing your body to remain younger longer because free radical production is one of the most important causes of aging, right? So you're slowing your metabolism down. So you do have to be a little bit careful about your caloric intake and sort of find that balance where you reach a natural set point, right? But over time, you're creating less inflammation. So you might have someone that you're friends with that's like eating 7 meals a day and is skinny or whatever. And I'm 54. And when I started doing 1 meal a day, I did lose a little bit of weight, not a lot. I lost maybe 10 or 15 pounds. Then it plateaued, and I can fast for 3 days and lose like a pound, or like I'll lose like 5 pounds. It's probably just everything getting through my digestive system. And then as soon as I eat, I gain it right back. So I'm not losing weight eating 1 meal a day and fasting 3 days a month at all. Okay. Now, maybe someone younger might, and I do have believers that have come to me saying that, oh, I can't, I need to gain weight, and so yeah, and some of them is because when you're younger, your metabolism is faster, right? But as someone who's older, I'm like, this is not necessarily the way to lose weight. Okay. So, and for those people, like we can look at, their window of eating, how many calories, what type of calories, and there's all sorts of things like that in food and nutrition. And that's some things I hope to come alongside people and help them with, right? So I would say, first of all, make sure you incorporate lots of healthy fats, eggs, butter, milk. And I think that is something that is often overlooked. But the end point, to just bring it back around and review, is that your mitochondria are really central, and that metabolism, they are the ones who produce energy. And if we optimize their function, reduce free radicals, produce energy well, then we should have all the energy we need, and we're producing less free radicals. So we're going to be aging slower. All right. Conversely, many people have toxins that have made their mitochondria toxic. So they don't have optimal energy production. So even though they feel like they're doing everything right, they're still tired or they're still not working right. And so the reason is because we live in a fallen world with all these toxins and all these insults, and our mitochondria are not optimized. And so one of the things that I hope to do is to help people figure out how to rejuvenate their mitochondria, make sure they're burning fat, and have them function properly so that the system can work as it's supposed to.
I love that. I love that you broke it down. So many things, and I'm glad you touched on that because that was the thing with me. I just started my journey of doing 1 meal a day. It's going on a year now. And I was so concerned about losing weight because I've already lost a tremendous amount of weight anyway due to a health issue that I had. However, it was that thing to where like I felt myself wanting to do 1 meal. Like I wasn't even eating as much anyway. So I formulated and put that in. And honestly, I think because I eat the same way, I've been stayed the same weight for over a year now. But it's that as you brought up, I didn't know that eating too much, if that's what you said, eating too much actually caused more free radicals, right?
Right. And especially eating too many times during the day.
Okay. Whew. Yeah, that was good. I want to get into the how cancer requires sugar, but I see we have a question here. Before I lose this question, I'm going to go ahead and put it on the screen. My brother Tony Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. It has been noted that testosterone levels have been decreasing significantly over the past 50 years. Some sources say by 50%. Some researchers attribute it to the use of pesticides in foods. Can you expound further on what has been causing this and how we can begin to reverse the process.
Okay, so I want to start with something really basic. And I'm not sure if Tony is a member of my website or not, because I did cover this in the past. And then I will get to the more chemical reasons. One of the things that we can do that is kind of a no-brainer is eat more cholesterol.
Mm.
So we have been brainwashed to believe that cholesterol is bad. Cholesterol is necessary for your sex hormones development. Cholesterol is necessary, very necessary for vitamin D, very, very, very necessary for testosterone, and also necessary for your other steroids, like your corticosteroids that help with energy metabolism. But I want to get to testosterone because there was a study, and I do have this lectures up on my website. It's called, Understanding Lipids and Fats, and this information is in there because it includes cholesterol. And I show the graph where they have like all cause mortality and cholesterol. So we're told if our cholesterol is high, then our chance of having a heart attack or dying is high, right? And if you look at the chart, there's a small increase in the likelihood of death if you have high cholesterol. But that's actually because when you have high cholesterol, it signals that things have gone awry. So it's kind of like saying the fire department was at your house, so it must have caused the fire. No, cholesterol was there to try to fix things because stuff is spiraled out of control. So it's just a sign that things are dysregulated. However, what they don't tell you is if you look at the other side of the graph, low cholesterol, most especially in men between the ages about 35 and 55, is highly correlated with higher all-cause mortality.
Mm.
Very strongly correlated. So at the end where it shows high cholesterol, it goes up like this. The low cholesterol goes like this. Your mortality goes way up
Mm.
immediately if you have low cholesterol. So we have all of these cholesterol lowering drugs, and we're told to eat low cholesterol. Now your body makes about 2/3 of your cholesterol, and we're dysregulated. So I think that this big push against cholesterol has been really damaging because it's needed to make testosterone.
Mm.
Duh. Like, but people don't know this, right? And
Yeah.
they trust their doctor, right? So I would say that's the first thing. But secondarily, yes, there's these endocrine disruptors because one of the main things that they're doing is they're actually changing the sexual development of the testicles
Mm.
and making it so that they're not able to produce healthy sperm because the testicles themselves are not optimally formed for their optimal function. And so that happens in utero because mom has all of these endocrine disrupting things. And so it's already happened to the child by the time they reach puberty that they're not optimally performing. Now, even if it's suboptimal, the more healthier you are. So let's say your testicular function is 70%. Well, if you eat all kinds of garbage and you're inflamed and whatever, maybe it goes down to 30% and you're maybe infertile. But if you got all 70% of that by being super healthy, at least you would, be able more likely to bear a child, more likely to have healthy sperm, right? So the other thing is that, like these things like endocrine disruptors, and I would say glyphosate, I guess, is a huge one. It's an herbicide, not a pesticide, that is sprayed on crops prior to harvest. So one of the things I've said over and over again, one, hummus, chickpeas, which are in hummus, have astronomical levels of glyphosate, and it's a known endocrine disruptor and has been clinically shown to reduce levels of testosterone. Did you have a question? You put your finger up.
No,
So, oh, okay.
I'm glad that you. I know you did a video about the chickpea, and a lot of chickpea lovers was like,
I know.
but
Well,
because I knew it was something in chickpea, but I knew it was something that was going on. But you just said it's an endocrine disruptor.
right. Glyphosate is also apparently an endocrine disruptor. And so because it's sprayed on, and so that's why we want to get, our navy beans clean or as, at least without glyphosate, but as organic or close to it as we can. And then if you do eat chickpeas, they have the highest levels recorded on anything, several orders of magnitude above anything else. So, and a lot of times we'll go to a restaurant and we'll order, falafel or we'll order hummus because we think that it's healthy. And I know someone who was eating hummus, non-organic, because she didn't know during her pregnancy, thinking she was being really, um, healthy, and she had a child. The child was not vaccinated, and she was like, what's wrong with my child? They're having all these gut issues. There's all these sensory issues. That's when I did a deep dive into glyphosate, and I said, this is the issue. And she was like, oh my gosh, I was eating hummus my entire pregnancy,
Wow.
and that was killing off the microbiome of her child, killing off her own microbiome, dysregulating it, causing all sorts of epigenetic changes into the formatting of the DNA. Tons. It's so toxic. And and we knew that, like, if you get GMO corn or GMO soybeans, it was on it, but people don't know that they spray it on oats prior to harvest, they spray it on chickpeas prior to harvest. And so, like, the other thing is, and this is, like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but, like, this is where we have to come together to organize and get our own resources so we know what we're eating. So many times you might go out to eat and people are going to order the fish, they're going to order the salmon. Well, that salmon is probably farmed. If it's called Atlantic salmon, it's farmed, and it's probably fairly toxic
Mm.
because it's grown in a pool in the ground, or a pool in the, like, it's a small net in like part of the ocean, but like a bay,
Mm.
right? Where it's constantly around their own feces because they've got hundreds, if not thousands, of the salmon all swimming together in this netted cage, basically. And then they feed them salmon chow, like, they make some kind of thing. And they're not eating their natural diet. They're
Mhm.
surrounded by their own feces. And so they get, it's just, there's so many things about it that are just not optimal. And like, if you do that once in a while, fine. But a lot of people, if by their job they're always going out to eat, they may be consistently eating things that they think are good for them that are not, where they might be better to eat, like, the grass-fed pot roast, or something that they don't think of as being as good. Like, if you looked at Eat to Live,
Mhm.
there's some, from going over it several times, it looks like there's some criteria. First, is it clean? Okay. And so we know things like pigs are not clean or
Mm.
whatever. So is it clean? And secondarily, can it be made cleaner? So we're told chickens aren't naturally clean, but if we feed them well, then they'll be cleaner. Secondly, is it digestible? Beef is maybe clean, but is it digestible? And we're told that things like steak, which I love, aren't really very digestible. But if we did something like pot roast it or put it in a pressure cooker,
Mhm.
that is going to make it more digestible. So there are things like chicken and beef that we can make cleaner and more digestible. So when we're looking at our options, we should look at that. So when we look at the option, we think salmon, I'm doing okay. Is it clean?
Mm.
Right? Then we can take something that's beautifully clean, like some sort of vegetable maybe, and deep fry it.
Mm. There we go. Yes.
And we can even take navy beans and make them into falafel and deep fry them in corn oil and make them completely indigestible
Mm.
and think we're doing okay, right? And so here I am, with some beautiful people I know, having to point out, and they've been very, very humble and receptive, because I see the things that they don't. But on the good side, by making some of these corrections, people are going to see an increase in their health. And so
Mm.
some people might be asking, well, I think I'm really doing a pretty good job with Eat to Live. Why do I still see this problem or that problem or this problem? Like, one person said, they were having some inflammation or this or that. And I come to find out they're using a lot of corn oil.
Mm.
Well, using that very sparingly might be okay, but you shouldn't be frying anything in it. And if you're doing a lot of, like some people will fry, like, make a bean crumble instead of ground beef and
Mhm.
fry it in corn oil. That's a ton of corn oil. It's highly, highly inflammatory. And usually it manifests as, you can see the inflammation in your skin and a little bit of acne. And a lot of people, when they take that corn oil out of their diet, they see their complexion clear up,
Mhm.
less inflammation in their face. And so, I mean, I'm just saying these are some of the visible signs. And so sometimes I can see someone and be like, I think they're using too many seed oils. Like, it's
Mhm.
not, I'm not always right, or whatever. So, but these are some of the minor corrections. Maybe they could use ghee instead. Now, ghee's really expensive, but, like, you have to, you know, we're told to eat beans. And so, like, well, let's take the beans and make them, like, and a lot of people do this even just generally, right? People are like, I'm a vegan, so I don't eat meat, but I'm going to get a fake plant-based burger to be meat,
Yeah.
right? Now, I am all for a really good bean burger, navy bean burger. And
Yeah.
I've been known to eat them even if they're fried in corn oil. So I am not above reproach. Um, However, if I could be fried in ghee, that would be better. However, you know, I'm just saying generally in society, we see things like the Impossible Burger. I don't know if you've ever seen that at like different restaurants and things. That is toxic and indigestible. Don't tell them I told you because like they'll try to take me out, but like it is toxic and indigestible, right? So when we start highly processing foods to be replacement foods, most of the time they're not good. I had to come back and tell people that their oat milk and their soy milk and their, almond milk and things like these are probably going to end up being toxic and they're probably not good for you. Now, if once a month you make a smoothie with a little almond milk, like whatever, but some people are integrating these into their daily routine,
Yeah.
thinking it's a healthier option. So many, many people are sensitive to milk. And so they get these other alternative milks. And I'm like, I think we're going to find that those are pretty toxic to be using long term. Some people will make their own. That's probably a better option because it doesn't have all these weird chemicals and stabilizers in it. But in general, like if you're not going to eat something, just don't eat it.
Mm.
So like I do keep a little bit of milk on just to maybe put, half a cup in my mashed potatoes or to, whatever, but I don't drink milk. So if I can't get like raw unpasteurized goat's milk, I just don't drink milk.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I drink water. Right? And probably some other things I don't, shouldn't, like Olipop, which is okay, but it's still a treat, right? It's still got, so I mean, I'm not perfect, right? But the point is like we think that if we're vegetarian, if we're not eating meat and we use these weird meat replacements with lots of soy or whatever it is, that we're healthy. And of course, soy is one of the biggest endocrine disruptors, never meant for human consumption. And of course, in Eat to Live, it says we're not to eat soy or soy oil.
Mm.
And soy oil is highly, highly inflammatory. And it's in like every salad dressing that you find at the store and all of these other things, right? So, and what I tell people is don't like overwhelm yourself. You can't, like everyone's like, what can I eat? I'm like, ice. You can eat ice if it's from
Yeah.
well water and you test it for lead. I mean, I don't know, right? And Eat to Live, it does say that most things are toxic. All foods have some toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we support our body in having time to detoxify it and clear it out. But at the same time, we just need to take one simple step. And we're told that we don't have to eat a ton of different foods. And so let's identify the ones that are good for us, try to find the cleanest and most digestible version, and just integrate those into our daily diets little by little. I was thrilled to find that my daughter absolutely loves bean soup. And her aide was like, yeah, we opened her lunch and she skipped the treat and everything. And she went right to that thermos trying to open it to get that bean soup.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I wonder if it's because I put a little berry. It was a little too spicy this time, but
Uh-huh.
she's Ethiopian. I think she was born with a taste for spice. And so I'm so grateful that she loves her bean soup, you know?
Yes. Yes. Ooh, ooh, I love it. I love it. And just thinking about just how we just have to be more conscious and more aware of just the things that we are putting in our mouths. And like you stated before, yeah, we want to eat healthy or we think we eat healthy, but we also have to look into if these things are clean, if these things have, because I see a lot of us, a lot of people that are changing their diet, they want to do replacements, especially those that are on a vegan
Mhm.
diet. As you say, they want to replace things. So kind of make it kind of like, I believe hard for people that are on that diet to get the proper nutrients in their body when they're supplementing things that they may think is better because it's probably a vegetable. And like you said, we probably dipping it in some oil, making fried
Yeah, yeah. I'm a
fried
vegan. I just eat
mushrooms
French fries
and
morning, noon, and night. I'm perfectly healthy, right? Like, I mean, just think about that. It just, you can be a vegan and be completely unhealthy.
hmm.
And so, what vegetarianism and vegan can do if you're eating whole foods, if you're moving from processed foods to whole foods. So, regardless of what you call it, once you move from processed foods to whole foods, you're going to start getting healthier. But one of the things that that people need to know, what I see is people are not getting enough healthy fats and healthy phospholipids,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they're a vegan, and sometimes even if they're a vegetarian. Yeah, no more Atlantic salmon. I know, and it's costly to buy the the free swimming salmon, the like that's caught up in Alaska, the wild caught. And so that's, but you don't have to eat a lot of meat, but eat really high quality meat, and then make sure it's digestible. It's okay. I would rather see someone eat grass-fed beef that is clean and cooked slow and digestible than Atlantic salmon, which they're thinking technically it's okay, but no, really it's toxic because it's grown in,
Mm-hmm.
because of the conditions it's grown in, right? And so I want to get back to these phospholipids, which are in like eggs and milk and things like this. And many people, when they go vegan, animal cells are more like ours than plants.
Mm.
So your average 5-year-old can probably figure that out, right? Banana and a dog, not the same. We're more like a dog, or like we're more like the cow, right? We're more like the cow than the banana. Okay. So the animals make the different components of their body, their cells, their cell membrane. They've made a whole bunch of those things to make up their own body that are really similar. So when we eat those, we're able to integrate those right into our body very, very quickly. And they also make B vitamins, which is really, really critical. Our gut makes B vitamins, but our guts are really dysregulated because of all the toxins. And so, specifically cows, when they ferment, B vitamins are made from fermentation. And so when they ferment stuff in their gut, they make all these B vitamins, and it goes into their milk and it goes into their meat. And so beef and milk are a great source of B vitamins. You can't get them in the same ways from plants. The other thing is, we are told, like a lot of times we're like, this plant, like kale, has all of these different nutrients. And I think it says this in Eat to Live. Yeah, they're in there, but your body can't get them. And that's what science is finding. One, even if you've got some broccoli or something, you need to put some butter on it. I'm like, put butter on everything. Butter is great, right?
Yes.
So, you can't actually absorb those nutrients without some fat, some healthy fats on there. And secondarily, you know, some of them are, not able to be liberated in some things, such as like are harder to liberate in like kale and stuff. So just because it's in there doesn't mean it's bioavailable for your body.
Mm. I love that. And actually, as I took a couple of I took a nutrition class, and they spoke on how in order for your body to absorb certain nutrients, you have to kind of pair it
Mm-hmm.
with
Yep.
certain foods.
Certain cofactors and things that help it absorb. And your microbiome, the bacteria in your gut actually play a huge role, and like they actually signal like this is what the body needs. And so when we don't have healthy bacteria, we aren't actually able to absorb the right vitamins and minerals. So the bacteria in your gut actually sense stuff from the body and tell, the cells of your body what to absorb. And so it's this really intricate dance that we have to, so restoring balance. And that's, everybody wants a pill. Like, I'm having these problems. Can you
Yeah.
fix it for me before the weekend? Because I'm going away. Like,
Yes.
I'm like, well, you're 50. So it probably took 30 years for this problem to develop.
Okay.
um,
There you go.
and you're probably super toxic, so, you can go to your doctor and they might give you a pill to mask the symptoms and like actually make everything worse. Or you can start doing the things you need to bring your body into balance, which gives me to my website, which is not going to say the first word because it starts with a V, but it's the Injury Teaching Alliance. But it really has to do with chronic illness. What causes the body to spiral into chronic illness? So it could be a trigger, like that V word, but it could be an infection. It could be a car crash, because a lot of times our bodies are really toxic. It could be EMF radiation, right? So there are many things and it could be our genetic predispositions, that when we combine that perfect storm of toxicity and predispositions, and then you have a trigger, which could be many different things, and the body spirals. Some people have mold in their house, and that causes them to spiral. So there are many different triggers that cause the body to spiral. because I wanted people to know where to go. That's why I labeled it like I did. But really, it's for all of us. And behind a very, very small paywall is a lot of information on these, and it's cut into small chunks. So you don't have to be like, I know it's like an hour and a half. I don't have an hour and a half to watch anything. You know, I can try to break it down to 5-10 minute clips of how to detox the body, how to set up your home, downloadable PDFs. I have a section on, susceptibilities in people of African descent. And so you can start to take charge of your health, to understand these issues and how you can optimize your life.
I love it. I love it. And if you all are enjoying this episode just as well as I have, my sister been bringing some great gems, things that we need to know. I've learned so much on this show already. Please, please, please support by texting the word donate to 937-313-2466. And if you are enjoying all of the broadcasts here on CTGB Network, please show your support as well. Information to donate will be shown on the screen below. I love you all. Now let's get back to today's episode, Healing on a Cellular Level with Dr. Christina Parks. Yes, yes. So I wanted to go into real quick. I want to talk about sugar. Yeah,
It's my
sugar.
nemesis. I'm just as guilty as the rest of you. I'll do it right for a while, and
Oh, sugar, sugar, sugar.
chocolate,
Oh,
that's my nemesis. And jelly bellies,
oh.
which I'm sure have like food coloring in them.
See, but and it's that balance though. Like you said, just like not overdoing
Right.
the.
And I try to eat mine after the meal. So here's what I will say about sugar. And this is something that is really a concern, and I'm looking into it. The thing is, a lot of people will have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee in the morning. And one of the things you can do, if anytime you have sugar, it's going to spike your insulin.
Mm-hmm.
So what insulin does is it takes sugars out of the blood and puts it into the cells. So let's say you're the average American and every 2 hours you have a donut and a soda. You keep spiking your insulin all day long. It takes that blood sugar and puts it into your cells, and you get really fat really quickly because your cells then turn that extra sugar that they don't need into fat.
Mm-hmm.
The more that you spike your insulin, the more you're going to get towards diabetes. You're going to wear out your pancreas, and you're going to cause your cells. So let's go back to the person who's eating a donut and a soda or coffee, multiple times a day. And every time they spike their insulin, they put sugar goes into the cells and starts making fat. So you can imagine, just think of the fat cell as like a little house where it keeps getting sugar and it turns it into fat, and then it stuffs it away in a corner. Mm-hmm. Well, pretty soon the whole house is filled with these little bags of fat, right? Mm-hmm. And then somebody's knocking at the door to deliver more sugar, and they're like, no, turn out the light, like we might do on Halloween. Turn out the light. We're not home, right? We don't need any more sugar. We can't even get to the bathroom through all this fat or whatever. So that's how the body responds. And it actually takes the insulin receptors, which would tell the sugar to come in. It takes them down. They're like, turn out the light. Nobody's home. We're not taking any more sugar. And so that's called insulin resistance. And when that happens, the sugar continues to circulate in your blood. And high blood sugar is, by definition, diabetes. It's extremely inflammatory. It leads to cardiovascular disease and all sorts of cardiovascular inflammation, which causes, you hear about people going blind or having to amputate something. It's also really hard on like your kidneys and your organs, all that sugar. So then we go on top of someone who's fat, insulin resistant, and then we're going to give them insulin injections to try to get some of that blood sugar out of their blood. So one of the warnings I would give us and myself daily is don't do things that are going to spike your insulin all day long. So if you're going to have your cup of tea or coffee, go ahead and have that. If you add a little fat, it's going to minimize your insulin response. So maybe a pat of unsalted butter or a little bit of cream, into that. And I know there's a recipe to make coffee with an egg, great source of phospholipids that are going to help you absorb those actually key polyphenols in your coffee. So that's good too. But don't be someone be like, well, I can't eat, but I can still drink. And you're having your little latte all day long. You're going to be spiking your insulin. Okay. You want to drink that 1 cup and that's it. And that's it. Right. You can have water. Likewise, if you are a bodybuilder or whatever, and you start having protein, you're like, wow, I need that extra protein. I'm not going to argue with you. It's your life, but that is also going to spike your insulin. And so the more times a day you spike your insulin, the more likely you are to get into a state of metabolic dysfunction.
Mm. 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 Whew. It's the balance. It's the balance, Miss Parks.
Yes, ma'am.
It's the balance. I get it, and I'm so glad you kind of again talked about that. So, do you think, like, is there anything that one can do to kind of lower those sugar craving?
Stop eating it. I mean, I'll do that for a while. I also find I do really well when I have like my bean soup at night,
Mhm.
that it gives me the right kind of carbs that give me really consistent energy the next day. Where sometimes I'll have other meals because you like variety or whatever. If I don't have my bean soup, a lot of times I start, I get hungrier earlier. I start craving things earlier. And I think they really have the complex carbs that our body needs. So I just experiment with myself. And I know the more, of that stuff I eat, the more I crave it, right? And we know that like it's emotional. So I would say
Mm.
um, one of the reasons we eat is because it's the easiest source of satisfaction that we can get. It's a very reliable source of satisfaction. Your husband's not acting right, go get a bar of chocolate. Kids driving you crazy, get two. Okay. Like,
There
I
you
go like,
go.
there's no satisfaction in my life today. What can I eat that will taste good? Right? I mean, when you say it that way, it kind of sounds terrible. And so what we need to do is go inward, obviously, always to God, and we need to find that interior source of satisfaction. And so I have found, one, when we detox our body, it's going to, do better. And when we don't eat it, our microbiome actually changes not to crave it as much. So
Mhm.
I'll find when I do a 3-day fast, my cells are super healthy because I've healed them at a cellular level. I don't have any cravings. I can, maybe if I don't know, if I smell food, I might start, but like I really don't have any cravings, and I feel my energy levels are optimal.
Mhm.
But the more I cheat, the more I cheat. Right? I don't know if anybody else has that
Yeah.
experience. Yeah, because it kind of starts cycling.
Mhm.
But also, to deal with the emotional eating aspect, we've got to process our emotions, allow ourselves to feel them. That means we have to be in a safe space. So this is an ongoing
Mhm.
problem. But one of the things we can do is to give ourselves satisfying, fulfilling experiences, whether that's going for a walk, whether that's, drinking your tea. I usually drink my tea outside on the porch. I'm like, I'm only having one thing this morning. I'm taking my 20 minutes and having gratitude and tea, and an
Mhm.
expensive tea too. I'm super bougie that way.
Nothing's wrong with that. Okay.
And so I've got my really expensive tea, and I'm like watching the wind blow and the, whatever, the
Yeah.
sunrise or whatever it is. So we need to feel gratitude and fulfillment and satisfaction in our lives. So we need to focus on the areas of our lives that do. So when something dysregulates you, you can choose to let it get you into a negative emotional spiral,
Mm.
or you can say, this is a bump in the road, and you can kind of recalibrate. And if you're able to recalibrate, and even all during your day, you can think of things that you have gratitude for. You can think of things that you find satisfying. You can take steps toward things you find satisfying. And
Mm.
ultimately, to me, it's been that interior journey where I got out of my mind, and I
Mm.
am a scientist, into my heart center. And
Mm.
like people used to say, meditate. So I would sit there and try to think about nothing. It never worked. I mean, I was like, this is like some sort of torture, right? Like, And then I learned to drop into my heart center and just stop thinking and start feeling, open
Mm.
my heart and feel. Like, think of moments that brought me gratitude, and just take like 15 or 20 minutes and just feel who I am.
Mm.
Feel my heart center, open my heart center. So it's not about trying not to think, it's just feeling what my soul feels like.
Mm.
And what we all want in terms of our divine purpose is to feel the expansion of our souls. When you resonate with who your soul is, you will draw into your reality everything that's meant for you.
Mm.
And your life will be satisfying because what's meant for you will come to you,
Ooh.
right? So it really behooves us to find that, and again, this is a science. So we think of it as something woo-woo thing that might happen and might not. You keep trying at something, you'll figure it out. Even your body will. Like, how did you figure out how to ride a bike? You're like, I don't know. The one day I couldn't, and the next day I could. Your
Yeah.
body figured it out. You didn't consciously figure it out. Your body figured it out. So when you set some intentions to open your heart center, to feel gratitude, to feel your soul, it might be a bumpy road, but eventually you will get there. You will be able to open your heart. You will be able to feel who you are. And as you feel who you are sending the signal of you, your soul, out into the universe. And what comes back will be what's meant for you. And that will be satisfying to your soul instead of a list of things to do, right? Because think of those moments when you've been happiest. You couldn't, like, we strive to create those, right? We're like, if I do this and I plan this party and I do A, B, C, D, 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 then we'll have a good time. And then, like, everything looks okay, but there isn't any joy in it and you don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Conversely, you just stumble into your friend's house and some people come over and you just have the best time ever. And it just happened. Your soul drew it to you. So we need to allow our soul to draw to us experiences that are satisfying and fulfilling. And we need to sit in the power of our own being so that we're resonating a clearer signal. And when we do that, instead of using food or other things to distract us from our usually transient emotional pain or self-protection mechanisms, then we will find life to be more fulfilling and have less cravings, because when you feel good, you're not rummaging through the refrigerator. Like, when's the worst time for rummaging through the refrigerator? It's like 10:30 at night when emotionally you're just at that point where you just don't have the emotional energy anymore. And you're like, I don't have the emotional energy to center myself. Where's the bar of chocolate?
Okay, there you go.
And I'm like, I know I should emotionally center myself. And I'm getting in my car, driving to Walmart to get that chocolate bar. By the way, Walmart has a brand. It's like Better Goods, and they have a chocolate bar that has lime in it. This lime filling that is amazing. So here I am, like, showing you guys how to fall off the wagon.
I wrote that down. Very good. So put that on here for you.
So I find myself driving to Walmart because I don't have it in the house. I'm at least that good, like 10 o'clock at night, to get a candy bar. Because at the end of the day, I don't have that, to regulate my emotional state. And so those are my spiritual practices. Okay, where are your weak points? And what I do recommend with people is stop beating yourself up and just notice. Notice when you're eating when you shouldn't be. Notice what you're eating. Notice why. And then just say, okay. And then just set an intention. Let me know, what are the ways that maybe I could adjust things. So think of it as a science, as an adjustment, not a moral failure. Right?
Absolutely.
And I don't know if I'm teaching self-fulfillment as much as letting the power of God come in and through you, right? Because that's what it is. You're connecting to the source of all energy and fulfillment, which is your higher source, which is God. So I'm not really talking about, like, because the self is limited, but God is unlimited.
Ooh, there you go. There you go. Ooh, I love it. Oh my gosh. Miss Parks, Dr. Parks, oh my gosh, do you understand? I have so many other questions I want to ask, but we have hit our hour mark. But I just want to say thank you so very much for joining me today to discuss this well-needed topic. I believe, again, we all going to have to go back over this multiple times to really digest the information that we got today. So I just want to say thank you again to discuss this well-needed topic that is very profound, healing on a cellular level. I would also like to thank my amazing audience and Healing Tribe for joining us today. I pray that this episode was informative, valuable, and of course, always healing to you all. Also, be sure to share, like, follow, and subscribe so you won't miss out on any upcoming episodes or any of your favorite podcast stations. Closing the Gap broadcast, which is CCG broadcast on YouTube. And of course, Healing with Angelica on Facebook and YouTube to help spread the light of healing to others in need. Also, if you're ready to start your healing journey and don't know where to start, Healing with Angelica is here to assist. Get started on your healing journey today with my one-on-one The Healing Journey program by texting the word READY to 937-313-2466. Within that, you'll get a free 15-minute consultation call, which also includes the Healing Journey checklist. Also, be sure to join the Healing Tribe as we have the Healing Tribe merch available for purchase. Here goes some of a few of the other merchandise, so be sure to check it out and also hear me repping the tribe as well. If you are interested, be sure to text tribe to 937-313-2466. And last but not least, I also have my new ebook available, Thrive. It is now available for purchase directly on Amazon or just through me. So if you are ready to learn how to reconnect with self and God, get your copy today by texting the word Thrive to 937-313-2466. Dr. Parks, before we end today's show, do you have any closing remarks for our audience today? And if you don't, please have some.
Well, I would say you have said very little this whole time, ask a couple questions, but I feel like you brought out of me an amazing wealth of information. And I think it's because you just have an amazing vibe. And I just feel like, the energy just was really flowing. So I want to learn more about you and what you're doing. And because obviously, you are opening to God, providing healing for people flowing through you. And I can definitely feel that. So I just look forward to future collaborations. And I just tell everyone to, seek God.
Yes, yes.
The
Oh
source
my,
of all healing.
so much. I feel the energy. I love your energy. Um, Dr. Parks, we might have to do a part two. I don't know how
Absolutely.
soon, but
Absolutely. This was so much fun.
there's so many questions I want to ask.
I
So
know. And when you rewatch this, you'll probably be writing them all down.
exactly. That's why I like
Yeah, and
it.
it makes me think of things I want to share too. So
Okay. Yes, yes, yes. So you guys, you hear that? We might get a no, not might. We will get a part two soon, right? Oh, Tony Muhammad. I think she gave us the website. I did have it on the screen. Is it the VI-TA
.org.
dot org?
vi-ta.org. And it's on my Insta. Yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
And it's on my Instagram. It's in my bio link, and I link to it on my Twitter. And so you should be able to find it.
Yes, I have an epigenetic healing
Don't try to
website right
don't
there.
try to search for it though. It won't come up.
Oh wow. Let me see. Could not have any 20 words. Okay.
Yeah, my Instagram is epigenetic healing. I was trying to be stealth because I was being so censored, but
I love that though. Like so cool. And we're gonna have to get into that next time too. It's so many things to talk about. But again, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. This was so much fun. Got so many jewels, and I pray you all enjoyed this episode just as well as I have. And we leave you all as we came. Assalamu alaikum. Peace, healing, and light.